There were many steps in the process of putting this project together. Because we had to create this new space that was already occupied, it was necessary for us first to start by creating a space to move everything into that was currently in the new living kitchen. We actually got to be part of the design of what was called the refrigerator and oven room, or refrigerator and stove room. So we designed that and pulled our first permit on that particular portion of the project. We framed the walls with steel studs. We did our electrical work and added an additional panel to the space because of the high volume of electricity that would be used for the living kitchen. We completed the installation of an additional rooftop unit, which is a mechanical term for something that would heat the space and cool the space that's put on the roof of the building. We had to put in the ductwork, the distribution system for that heat system or cooling system. And after we get done putting these pieces in, these components, the rough ends, the electrical and heating portion, we have to go through inspections. On top of this, because we were remodeling this space, the state, and actually the United States, has requirements as far as the ability for people with disabilities to access the space, the ADA compliant portion. We needed an ADA compliant bathroom within the space, so there was plumbing necessary as well. We demolished what they had existing and created a space that anybody could use as far as a bathroom facility goes. So we get through with the inspections and passed all our inspections, and we move on to drywall. And in these spaces, both spaces, we do what's called a dry fall process for painting the ceiling. We have the open warehouse feel that seems to be very popular now, and so we go in and we spray the ceiling with this black paint that actually powders and falls to the floor when it doesn't stick. We also go through and we'll put our first coat of paint, and we'll prime and put our first coat of paint on the walls so that we can make sure we cover everything, and we'll come back later and do a final coat. Once we had all this done, we were ready to move the appliances that were currently in our future living kitchen space into this space so that we could start construction of the living kitchen. And as we're doing this, we're doing final completion of the space. We're hanging light fixtures, adding diffusers to these heat runs, some base trim around this perimeter to finish the floor, the wall-to-floor transition. And finally, after we're all done, we do paint the final coat. Now, as we're doing this, we have started on the living kitchen portion because we were on a tight timeline as they had this big open house that they were going to be having at the space, and we needed to respect that and that particular time frame. So we'd started with framing there as well and went through that same process. We went through the electrical rough end. We actually had to cut the floors open to trench for electrical, which was a bit complicated. Trench for gas lines and some plumbing because it is an operational kitchen. So we completed our rough ends, the heating in there and cooling, the electrical, ventilation for operational range hood, and we're again ready for more inspections. And so we got through the inspections, and we're okayed to cover up the walls, to conceal what was behind the walls. And again, we started with our drywall and our taping. In this particular space, we're using soffits, which is a drop-down area in the ceiling to emphasize spaces, to take and draw attention to particular spaces, or to segregate that space, to define that space as its own space. So we had soffit work to do as well. Once we had all that done, we went back again and did our painting. And in this particular space, some of the ceiling was actually finished with a black grid work and black ceiling tile. While that was being done, again, in an effort to keep the timeline, we have a team that works closely together. Our subs have been together for a long time, our subcontractors. And so they work well together, they communicate well together. They actually, work and communication and talk and help each other be efficient. So they're in working together, which isn't always an easy feat to pull off. So the ceiling's going in and cabinets are going in. Actually, if I back up, flooring went in first. We had tile on the floor. It was the newer style. It's a 12 by 36 porcelain tile that has a wood grain look to it. Very neat, very beautiful finish. And then did carpet tiles, which is something very popular now as well. Then we were installing cabinets and getting all the millwork in. As the other phases were moving forward, the electrical mainly and this ceiling finish I'd mentioned, getting ready for what's called templating for countertops, for those countertops that weren't already manufactured. This is a process where they come in and they actually measure the cabinets once installed and figure out the countertops and to make sure the dimensions are appropriate. While we waited for the countertops to come back, we continued moving forward with all aspects. We had some wallpaper in this project. We had some specialty paint finishes in this project. We had signage. And because the ceiling was up, now we could start putting lights in, track lighting, specialty recessed lighting, pendant lighting, was all going in. Finally, we had the countertops, so we could start installing the appliances, what this space was all about. And let me tell you, there were a lot of appliances. This process took a long time. There was so many appliances in this space. I think we dedicated between 5 to 7 guys daily on this project just for appliance installation because of trim kits and connections and modifications to get all these appliances to work. And once we got the appliances in, we were ready for that final paint that I mentioned earlier. We come in because things do get nicked or there might be a little bit of scuff here or whatever. We come in and we do our final painting at the end, and we finished hanging signage.